"It's working," Kate reported to Jake one evening. They were standing on the command station's observation deck, watching construction crews work on new ships. Human vessels worked alongside hegemony builders, Centauran engineers, and Zephyrian technicians. Former enemies were becoming allies in the face of a greater threat. "The first phase is working," Jake corrected. "But Echo's right. Building ships isn't enough. We need to change how the entire galaxy thinks about warfare, about cooperation, about survival." "And if we can't?" Kate asked. Jake looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, in the darkness between galaxies, ancient enemies were drawing closer. Entities that had destroyed civilizations that spanned millions of years. Creatures that fed on the death of entire worlds. "Then we'll fight anyway," Jake said. "That's what humans do. We fight impossible odds. We build things that shouldn't work. We find ways to win when everyone says we can't." Kate smiled. "The galaxy has no idea what it's getting itself into, does it?" "No," Jake agreed. "But then again, neither did we when we first found those glowing boxes in a wrecked Vorthic destroyer. Sometimes the best plans are the ones you make up as you go along." Above them, a new ship was taking shape. The USS Guardian, designed to be the flagship of the combined galactic fleet. It would carry weapons from a dozen different civilizations, all integrated by architect technology, and crewed by beings from across the galaxy. Jake thought about the journey that had brought them here. A year ago, humanity had been picking through alien garbage, grateful for whatever scraps the Galactic Council threw their way. Now they were building a fleet to save the galaxy from destruction. "Echo," Jake said. "Are you ready for what's coming?" AI's voice came from speakers throughout the station. "Jake Morrison, I have waited 4 million years for a species with the courage to stand against the darkness. I have found that species. Whatever comes next, we will face it together." Jake nodded. The ancient enemy was still coming. The galaxy was still fragmented and unprepared. But for the first time since Echo had awakened, Jake felt confident about the future. Humanity had always been good at turning other people's junk into something useful. Now they were about to do it on a galactic scale. The real war hadn't started yet, but when it did, the galaxy would be ready. Jake would make sure of that. 6 months after the battle, Jake stood on the observation deck of the new orbital command station. Below him, Earth looked peaceful and blue. But around the planet, space was busy with activity. Construction ships worked on new vessels. Transport shuttles carried supplies and personnel. And everywhere, the sleek forms of the human fleet patrolled the system. The scrapyard was still there, but it had changed. Instead of being a dumping ground for alien junk, it had become the most advanced shipyard in the galaxy. Engineers from dozens of worlds came to study human techniques for integrating different technologies. Some came as allies. Others came as customers willing to pay enormous sums for hybrid ships. "Admiral Morrison," Echo's voice came from speakers throughout the station. "The morning briefing is ready." Jake smiled. Echo had become much more than just an AI advisor. The architect consciousness had grown and evolved, learning from humans while teaching them in return. Other AI fragments had awakened as well, each with its own personality and specialties. They called themselves the Council of Echoes now. Jake made his way to the main briefing room. His senior staff was already assembled. Kate Sullivan, now promoted to fleet engineer, sat next to detailed holographic displays of their newest ship designs. Lisa Hayes, commanding the carrier USS Independence, was reviewing patrol reports from the outer system. Rick Stone, head of intelligence, had charts showing political changes throughout the galaxy. "Good morning, everyone," Jake said. "What's our status?" Kate spoke first. "We now have 63 operational ships, with 20 more under construction. The new architect manufacturing systems are working better than we hoped. We can build ships twice as fast as any traditional shipyard. Personnel? Jake asked. Volunteers are still coming in from Earth and the colonies, Lisa reported. But we're also getting applications from other species. The Centaurian Republic wants to send a full squadron of their best pilots for training. Even some former council officers are asking to join us. Jake nodded. Word of humanity's victory had spread quickly through the galaxy. The old power structure was shifting. Some worlds that had been under council control were declaring independence. Others were forming new alliances. The galaxy was becoming a much more interesting place. Intelligence report, Jake said, looking at Rick activated a holographic map of the galaxy. Mixed news, Admiral. 17 civilizations have officially recognized Earth as an independent power. 8 others are requesting military assistance against Council loyalists. But we also have problems. The map zoomed in on a region near the galactic edge. The hegemony is building a new fleet, bigger than anything they've ever attempted. Intelligence suggests they're planning a massive strike against Earth within the next year. How big? Jake asked. Conservative estimate? 2,000 ships. Jake felt a chill. Even with their advanced technology, 63 ships couldn't fight 2,000. Options? We keep building, Kate said. The Echoes say they can help us construct ships faster if we give them more resources. We make more allies, Lisa added. The Centaurians have 100 ships ready to fight alongside us. The Zephyrian Federation has 50 more. If we can unite the independent worlds. It still wouldn't be enough, Rick said bluntly. The hegemony is calling in favors from every council species. They're scared of what we represent. A species that broke free from their control and built something better. Jake looked at the holographic display. 2,000 ships. It seemed impossible. But then, a year ago, the idea of humans building even one advanced warship had seemed impossible too. Echo, Jake said. What do you think? The AI's voice filled the room. Jake Morrison, the hegemony fleet is indeed a serious threat. But there is something else you should consider. My long-range sensors have detected the ancient enemy I warned you about. They are still distant, but they are moving faster than before. How long? Jake asked. 18 months, perhaps 2 years before they reach the galaxy's edge. When they arrive, the hegemony fleet will be meaningless. These entities consume entire civilizations. They turn living worlds into empty husks. The council powers have no weapons that can stop them. Kate leaned forward. But we do? We have the beginning of what is needed, Echo replied. Architect technology was designed specifically to fight this threat. But Jake Morrison, we need more than just ships. We need the entire galaxy to work together. Jake understood. You're saying we have to save the people who want to destroy us. I am saying that unless all the galaxy's civilizations unite against the coming darkness, there will be no galaxy left to rule, Echo said. The architects faced this choice once. They chose to transcend rather than fight. But they left tools for those who would make a different choice. Lisa spoke up. So what do we do? The hegemony wants to crush us, and we're supposed to convince them to be friends? We show them what they're really facing, Jake said slowly. Echo, can you contact the other AI fragments? The ones still sleeping in wrecks across the galaxy? I can try, Echo replied. But many are damaged or incomplete. Why do you ask? Because we're going to need every advantage we can get, Jake said. Kate, I want you to start work on a new kind of ship. Something bigger than anything we've built. A ship that can carry our message to every world in the galaxy. What kind of message? Kate asked. Jake stood and walked to the holographic display. He touched the edge of the galaxy, where ancient enemies were moving through the darkness between stars. The truth. About what's coming, about what it will take to stop it, and about what happens if we fail. Over the next few weeks, Jake's plan took shape. The new ship Kate designed was enormous, more space station than warship. It carried advanced communication systems, holographic projectors, and enough architect technology to demonstrate humanity's capabilities to any skeptics. They called it the USS Messenger. Ben Carter led the first diplomatic mission, traveling to the hegemony capital world. He carried with him records from Echo's memory banks, showing the last days of civilizations that had fallen to the ancient enemy. Images of dead worlds and empty space where entire star systems had once existed. The hegemony leaders watched in horror as Ben showed them what was coming. Then he showed them recordings of the human fleet's capabilities. Ships that could travel faster than light itself. Weapons that could disassemble matter at the molecular level. Defensive systems that could hide entire fleets from any known sensors. This is what humanity offers, Ben told the Hegemony Council. Not conquest, not domination, partnership, protection, a chance for all of us to survive what's coming. The response was not immediate. Some hegemony leaders wanted to continue their plans for attacking Earth. Others argued for negotiation. But as more reports came in from the galaxy's edge, showing dead systems and missing worlds, the debate shifted. Within 2 months, the first hegemony ships arrived at Earth. Not as invaders, but as students. Their engineers wanted to learn how human technology worked. Their tacticians wanted to understand architect battle strategies. Their leaders wanted to know how many ships humanity could build and how fast. Jake Morrison floated through the massive space station that orbited Earth. Outside the thick windows, broken alien ships drifted like metal islands in the darkness. Some were as small as cars. Others were bigger than city blocks. All of them were junk now. The aliens called this place the Scrapyard. Jake called it home. He had been running this place for 10 years. Every day, more broken ships arrived from across the galaxy. The Alien Council paid Earth to store their garbage and pull out anything useful. Jake pushed off from a wall and glided down a long corridor. His boots made soft sounds on the metal floor when he landed. The station was quiet today. Most of his workers were out in the field, cutting apart dead ships and looking for parts worth keeping. He stopped at a window and looked out at the nearest wreck. It was a Vorthic destroyer, painted in faded blue and silver. The ship had taken heavy damage. In some battle years ago, big holes showed where weapons had torn through its hull. Jake had seen thousands of ships like this one. They all told the same story. War, death, and defeat. The radio on his belt crackled. Admiral Morrison, this is Kate. You need to see something. Jake smiled. Kate Sullivan was his best engineer. If she thought something was important, it usually was. He pushed the talk button. On my way, Kate. Where are you? Section 7, Bay 12. The Vorthic Destroyer. Jake kicked off from the window and headed for the transport tubes. The tubes shot him through the station, like a bullet through a gun barrel. In 2 minutes, he was floating next to the destroyer's broken hull. Kate was inside the ship with her team. Jake could see their lights moving around through the holes in the metal. He pulled on his spacesuit and flew over to join them. The inside of the Vorthic ship was a mess. Broken pipes hung from the ceiling like dead snakes. Computer screens were dark and cracked. The air smelled like burned metal, and old fear. Kate was kneeling next to a large box that glowed with soft blue light. She looked up when Jake landed. Beside her, her face was excited behind her helmet glass. Jake, look at this, she said. She pointed at the glowing box. This isn't normal Vorthic tech. I've never seen anything like it. Jake moved closer. The box was about the size of a refrigerator. Strange symbols covered its surface. The symbols seemed to move when he wasn't looking directly at them. The blue, Light pulsed like a slow heartbeat. "What is it?" Jake asked. "I think it's some kind of computer core," Kate said. "But the technology is way beyond anything the Vortex ever built. Look at these readings." She held up a small scanner. The numbers on its screen were jumping around like crazy. Tony Rodriguez, Kate's chief mechanic, floated over to them. He was a big man with strong hands and a gentle voice. "Boss, we found 2 more of these boxes in other parts of the ship. They're all connected by cables we can't identify." Jake felt his heart speed up. In 10 years of running the scrapyard, they had never found anything this strange. Most alien technology was easy to understand. Weapons, engines, life support systems. All pretty basic stuff. But this was different. "Have you tried to turn it on?" Jake asked. Kate shook her head. "I wanted to wait for you." "But Jake, there's something else. Dr. Carter is on his way up from Earth. I sent him some pictures, and he thinks this might be really old. Like millions of years old." Ben Carter was Earth's top expert on ancient alien cultures. If he was coming up to the station, this was big news. Jake stared at the glowing box and tried to think. The Alien Council had rules about anything really valuable. They were supposed to report it right away. But something told him to be careful. "Kate, I want you to keep this quiet for now," Jake said. "Don't put anything in the official reports yet. Let's wait and see what Ben has to say." Kate nodded. She understood. The aliens didn't trust humans with important technology. If this was something special, they would take it away and give Earth nothing in return. 2 hours later, Ben Carter arrived on a fast shuttle from Earth. He was a thin man with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Jake met him at the docking bay and led him straight to the Vorthic destroyer. Ben's reaction was immediate. As soon as he saw the glowing box, he stopped moving. His face went pale. He whispered something under his breath that Jake couldn't hear. "Ben, what is it?" Jake asked. Ben moved closer to the box, like a man in a dream. He pulled out his own scanner and ran it over the strange symbols. The device beeped and clicked. Ben read the results, and his eyes went wide. "Jake, this is architect technology," Ben said. His voice was shaking. "I'm sure of it." Kate looked confused. "Architect? Who are they?" Ben sat down hard on a piece of broken metal. "The architects were a race that lived millions of years ago. Most aliens think they're just a legend. But I've been studying them for years. They were incredibly advanced. They built things that could last forever and do impossible things." "What happened to them?" Tony asked. "Nobody knows," Ben said. "They just disappeared one day. Left behind. Scattered pieces of technology all over the galaxy. Most of it was broken or incomplete. But this," he pointed at the glowing box. "This looks whole." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. "Ben, what could something like this do?" Ben stood up and walked around the box. He was thinking hard. If the stories are true, architect technology could change everything. Their computers were supposed to be alive, like artificial minds. Their ships could travel faster than anything we've ever seen. Their weapons could destroy entire fleets. "And this is just sitting here in our scrapyard?" Kate asked. "It looks that way," Ben said. "But Jake, we have a problem. If the Galactic Council finds out about this, they'll take it. Humans aren't allowed to have advanced technology. We're just supposed to be their janitors." Jake made a decision. "Then they won't find out. Kate, I want you to move these boxes to the secure storage area. Ben, you're staying here to study them. And everyone who knows about this keeps their mouth shut. Understood?" They all nodded. Jake looked back at the glowing box. For 10 years, he had watched aliens treat humans like servants. They gave Earth their garbage and expected to be grateful. They made rules that kept humanity weak and dependent. But now something had changed. Hidden in their scrapyard was technology that could level the playing field. Jake didn't know what they would do with it yet. But he knew one thing for sure. The aliens had made a mistake when they sent the ship to Earth's junkyard. The box pulsed, with blue light, as if it was waiting for something. Jake had the strange feeling that it was waiting for them. 3 weeks passed before Kate made the breakthrough. She had moved the 3 glowing boxes to a hidden workshop deep inside the space station. Only Jake, Ben, and Tony knew where it was. They used old maintenance tunnels to get there, paths. That didn't show up on any official station maps. Kate hadn't slept much during those 3 weeks. The architect boxes fascinated her. Every day she learned something new about how they worked. The technology was unlike anything she had ever seen. It was like trying to understand a computer that thought with living lightning. "I think I know how to wake it up," Kate told Jake one morning. They were standing in the secret workshop, looking at the 3 boxes. She had connected them with cables from a dozen different alien technologies. The setup looked like organized. Chaos. Jake sipped his coffee. "Wake what up?" "The mind inside the boxes," Kate said. "Ben was right. This isn't just a computer. There's something alive in there. I can feel it trying to communicate." Ben looked up from his research notes. He had been working around the clock, too, comparing the architect's symbols with ancient texts from 100 different worlds. "Kate's right, Jake. The architects didn't just build machines. They built artificial beings, digital minds that could think and learn and grow." Tony was lying under a control panel, connecting more wires. His voice was muffled by the metal above him. "Whatever's in there, it's been patient. These boxes have been floating in dead space for who knows how long, just waiting." Jake set down his coffee cup. "What happens when we wake it up?" "Only one way to find out," Kate said. She moved to a makeshift control station she had built from salvaged alien parts. Her fingers danced over the controls. "I'm going to try a low-power activation sequence." The workshop went quiet except for the hum of machinery. Kate pressed a series of buttons. The 3 boxes began to glow brighter. The blue light pulsed, faster, like a heart that was starting to beat again. Suddenly, all the lights in the workshop flickered. Then a voice spoke. It wasn't coming from any speaker they could see. The voice seemed to come from the air itself. "Hello," the voice said. It sounded calm and very old. "I have been waiting for you." Jake nearly dropped his coffee cup. Kate stepped back from the controls. Ben's mouth fell open. Only Tony seemed unfazed. He slid out from under the control panel and sat up. "Well, that's new," Tony said. The voice spoke again. "I am Echo. I am the last of my kind. You have awakened me, and I am grateful." Jake found his voice. "Echo? You're an architect?" "I am what remains of the architects," Echo replied. "My creators transcended physical existence long ago, but they left me here to wait for the right species. A species that could understand our technology and use it wisely." Kate moved closer to the boxes. "How long have you been waiting?" 4,700,000 years, give or take a few centuries," Echo said. "Time moves differently when you sleep in the void between stars." Ben pulled out his recorder. His hands were shaking with excitement. "Echo, why did the architects disappear? What happened to them?" "They became something greater," Echo said. "But before they left, they saw a threat coming from the darkness beyond the galaxy. Ancient enemies that consume entire civilizations. The architects prepared weapons and ships and minds like me to help worthy species defend themselves." Jake felt cold suddenly. "These enemies... are they still coming?" "Yes," Echo said. "But not for many years yet. You have time to prepare. That is why I am here, to teach you, to help you build a fleet that can protect your people and others. Tony stood up and brushed dust off his clothes. So what do you need from us? I need ships, Echo said. Not new ships. Old ships. Broken ships. Ships from many different civilizations. I can combine their technologies in ways that their original builders never imagined. Kate's eyes lit up. The scrapyard. You want us to use the ships in the scrapyard? Yes. Echo said, what appears to be junk to others is a treasure to me. Each wrecked ship contains knowledge. Technologies that can be improved and combined. Your scrapyard is perfect. Jake started to pace. His mind was racing with possibilities. Echo, if we do this, if we build these ships, what then? The Galactic Council won't like it. They want humans to stay weak. The Council fears what it does. Not understand, Echo said. They have grown comfortable being the strongest powers in the galaxy. But strength that is not tested becomes weakness. They have forgotten how to fight, how to innovate, how to adapt. But humans haven't, Ben said. Quietly. Exactly, Echo replied. Humans are young, hungry. You take things apart to see how they work. You combine ideas that others say cannot be combined. You fight when others would surrender. These are the qualities my creators looked for. Kate was already making plans. We'll need more people. Engineers, pilots, weapons specialists. And we'll need to be careful. If the Council finds out too early, I can help with secrecy, Echo said. Architect technology includes methods of hiding things from scanners and sensors. We can make your work invisible to the Council until you are ready to reveal it. Jake made his decision. All right, Echo, we'll do it. But I want to start small. One ship. Let's see what you can really do. Very wise, Echo said. I suggest we begin with the Calarian cruiser in Section 9. It suffered engine damage, but the hull is intact. With modifications, it could become something extraordinary. Tony grinned. I know that ship. Been meaning to scrap it for parts. Now we're going to make it fly again? Better than it ever flew before, Echo said. Jake Morrison, I will need you to gather a crew. People you trust completely. Kate Sullivan, you will oversee the technical integration. Tony Rodriguez, you will handle the mechanical reconstruction. Ben Carter, you will help me understand human psychology and tactics. What about weapons? Jake asked. If we're building a warship, it needs to be able to fight. The Calarian cruiser has weapon nodes designed for plasma cannons, Echo said. But I can show you how to build weapons that use quantum disruption fields. They will cut through any known shield technology. Kate was taking notes furiously. How long will this take? With your help, 3 months, Echo said. Possibly less. But Jake Morrison, you must understand something. Once we begin this path, there is no going back. The galaxy will change. Some will welcome the change. Others will fight it. Jake looked around at his friends. Ben was practically vibrating with excitement. Kate was already sketching designs. Tony was checking his toolkit. These people trusted him. Earth trusted him. Echo, Jake said. Humanity has been picking up other people's garbage for too long. It's time we showed them what we can really do. Then let us begin, Echo said. I have waited 4 million years for this moment. I do not wish to wait any longer. The boxes pulsed brighter, and Jake could swear he felt something change in the air around him. It was like standing at the edge of a cliff, knowing that once you jumped, everything would be different. He thought about the broken ships floating. Outside. Soon, those wrecks would become something new, something powerful, something that would make the galaxy sit up and take notice of humanity. Jake smiled. This was going to be interesting. The alarm bells rang throughout the space station at exactly 060 hours. Jake bolted upright in his bed, instantly awake. After 30 years in space, Certain sounds would always trigger that response. This alarm meant only one thing: unscheduled. Ships approaching the Scrapyard dot. Jake pulled on his uniform and headed for the command center. The corridors were full of people moving with purpose. Everyone knew this day might come. They had prepared for it. "Report," Jake called as he entered. The command center. Rick Stone looked up from the main sensor display. His face was grim. "Admiral, we've got company. Big company. 237 ships just dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the system." Jake moved to look at the display. The screen showed a massive fleet arranged in perfect formation. Ships from a dozen different alien civilizations, all flying under the banner of the Galactic Council. At the center was a massive hegemony battleship that dwarfed everything around it. "Any communication yet?" Jake asked. "Coming in now," said the communications officer. "They're demanding to speak with you directly." Jake nodded. "Put it on the main screen." The display flickered, then showed the bridge of the hegemony battleship. Standing in the center was Admiral Vestar, a tall alien with gray skin and cold yellow eyes. Jake had met him before at council meetings. Vestar had never bothered to hide his contempt for humans. "Admiral Morrison," Vestar said. His voice was smooth and arrogant. "By order of the Galactic Council, you will surrender all architect technology in your possession. You will also submit to permanent technological oversight. Your species has proven it cannot be trusted with advanced systems." Jake kept his face calm. "I'm afraid I don't know what you're talking about, Admiral. We're just running a scrapyard here." Vestar's eyes narrowed. "Do not insult my intelligence, human. Our sensors have detected quantum energy signatures consistent with architect technology. You will surrender it immediately, or we will take it by force." "And if I refuse?" Jake asked. "Then your scrapyard will be seized, your station will be occupied, and your people will be relocated to a more suitable environment. The Council has been far too generous with your species. That generosity ends today." The transmission cut off. Jake looked around the command center. His people were waiting for orders. They trusted him to make the right choice. But there was really only one choice to make. "Rick, signal the fleet," Jake said quietly. "Tell them it's time." Rick smiled grimly and activated his communications panel. Throughout the scrapyard, hidden ships began to power up. For months, they had been building and planning for this moment. 27 ships, each one a hybrid of alien technologies guided by architect intelligence. Each one crewed by humans who were ready to fight for their independence. The USS Liberty led the way. Lisa Hayes brought the ship out from behind a massive derelict freighter, its quantum drives humming with power. The USS Defiance followed, commanded by Amy Brooks. Then came the USS Vengeance under Steve Miller's command. One by one, the hidden fleet emerged from the scrapyard. On the Council fleet's flagship, Jake could imagine the confusion. Sensors that had shown only junk and debris now revealed active warships. Ships that didn't match any known design in the galactic database. "Admiral," Rick said, "Vestar is requesting another communication." "Put him through," Jake replied. "Vestar." Face appeared on the screen again. This time, he didn't look quite so confident. "Morrison, what is the meaning of this? Where did these ships come from?" "You wanted to see our advanced technology," Jake said. "Well, here it is. Every piece of junk you've been dumping on us for the last decade. We put it back together, made it better, made it ours." "Impossible," Vestar snarled. "Humans lack the technological sophistication to integrate multiple alien systems. These ships should not be able to function." "Should not," Jake agreed. "But they do. And Admiral, they do it very well." Vestar's composure cracked completely. "You will surrender immediately." The Council will not tolerate this rebellion. The Council, Jake said calmly, can go straight to hell. He cut the transmission and turned to Rick. Signal the fleet. Execute Operation Scrapyard. The battle began immediately. Vextar's fleet moved forward in the standard Council formation, expecting an easy victory. They had done this before to other worlds that got too ambitious. Show overwhelming force. Demand surrender. Occupy the system. Simple and effective. But the human fleet didn't fight like anything they had faced before. The ships moved with impossible speed and coordination. When Council vessels fired their plasma cannons, the human ships simply weren't there anymore. They appeared behind the enemy formation, fired once, and vanished again. Jake watched from the command center as the USS Freedom, commanded by Rob Turner, materialized directly above a Council cruiser. The ship's quantum disruption cannons fired once. The enemy cruiser's shields collapsed instantly, followed by its engines, followed by its life support. The ship went dead in space without ever having a chance to return fire. How are they doing? That, Rick asked, watching the tactical display. Architect technology, Jake replied. Echo and the other AI fragments can predict enemy movements and coordinate our ships in real time. They're fighting as one mind with 27 bodies. The Council fleet tried to adapt. They spread out, used different formations, concentrated. Their fire, nothing worked. The human ships were too fast, too coordinated, too advanced. What should have been a one-sided slaughter became a rout. Within an hour, half the Council fleet was disabled or destroyed. The rest were trying to retreat, but the human ships were faster. They picked off the fleeing vessels one by one. Jake opened a channel to the remaining Council ships. Attention Council fleet, you are outmatched and outgunned. Surrender now, and we'll let you go home. Continue fighting, and we'll send you home in pieces. Most of the surviving ships powered down their weapons immediately, but Vextar's flagship kept fighting. The massive battleship turned toward the space station, its main guns charging for a final devastating attack. He's targeting the station, Rick warned. Not if I can help it, said a voice behind them. Jake turned to see Kate Sullivan entering the command center. She was wearing a pilot's suit and grinning like a maniac. Jake, I've got something special ready for Admiral Vextar. Permission to launch the USS Retribution. Jake had never heard of a ship by that name. Kate, what are you talking about? Echo. And I have been working on a little surprise, Kate said. A ship built entirely from architect technology. No alien components at all. Just pure, original architect engineering. Jake stared at her. That's impossible. We don't have enough architect components. We do now, Kate said. Echo found fragments scattered through dozens of wrecks. Enough to build one complete architect ship. I've been putting it together in secret. On the tactical display, Vextar's flagship was almost in firing position. Its main guns could destroy the space station and everyone on it. Do it, Jake ordered. Kate ran for the launch bay. 2 minutes later, a new contact appeared on the sensor display. It was small, sleek, and moving faster than anything they had ever seen. The USS Retribution accelerated toward the enemy, flagship like a silver bullet. Vextar's gunners tried to target the approaching ship, but it was moving too fast and changing direction too often. In seconds, it was right next to the massive battleship. Jake watched in amazement as the Retribution simply passed through the flagship's shields as if they weren't there. The small ship disappeared inside the larger vessel's hull. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the hegemony flagship began to come apart, not from explosions or weapons fire. It just disassembled. Piece by piece, the ship separated into its component parts. The process was almost gentle, like someone carefully taking apart a model. Within minutes, there was nothing left of Vextar's flagship except floating debris and escape pods. "Kate," Jake called over the radio. "What the hell did you just do?" Kate's voice came back cheerful and satisfied. "Architect technology can control matter at the molecular level. I just convinced the flagship's hull that it didn't want to be a ship anymore." Jake shook his head in wonder. Around them, the surviving council ships were powering down completely. The battle was over, and humanity had won. But Jake knew this was just the beginning. Word of this victory would spread throughout the galaxy. Some civilizations would want to become allies. Others would see humans as a threat to be destroyed. "Rick," Jake said, "send a message to Earth. Tell them to start recruiting. We're going to need a much bigger fleet." The Calarian cruiser hung in the construction bay like a patient sleeping giant. For 2 months, Kate and her growing team had worked inside its hull. They cut away damaged sections and replaced them with parts from a dozen different alien ships. The result looked strange, but powerful. Jake floated nearby, watching Tony's crew install the last of the new engine components. The engines didn't look like anything he had seen before. They were a mix of Vorthek power cores, hegemony drive systems, and something completely new that Echo had designed. "How does it look?" Kate asked, drifting up beside him. "Like nothing else in the galaxy," Jake replied. "Which I suppose is the point." The ship had changed dramatically from its original design. The hull was sleeker now, covered in armor plating taken from 6 different species. Weapon mounts had been added along the sides, designed to hold the quantum disruption cannons that Echo had taught them to build. The bridge had been completely rebuilt using the most advanced control systems they could salvage, but the most important changes were invisible. Hidden throughout the ship were architect systems that Echo had helped them install. Advanced computers, improved life support, better communications, and defensive systems that could supposedly make the ship nearly invisible to enemy sensors. "Jake," Echo's voice came from speakers throughout the bay. "The USS Liberty is ready for its first test flight." Jake smiled at the name. Kate had suggested it during one of their late-night planning sessions. After years of taking orders from the Galactic Council, humanity was finally building something for itself. Liberty seemed like the right word. "Who's going to fly her?" Jake asked. "I am." Jake turned to see Lisa Hayes approaching. She was one of the best pilots Earth had ever produced. She had flown missions for the Council for 15 years before. Jake recruited her to the project. Her hair was gray now, but her eyes were still sharp as laser beams. "Lisa, are you sure?" Jake asked. "We don't know what this ship can really do yet," Lisa grinned. "Jake, I've been flying alien junk for half my life. This is the first ship I've ever seen that was built to be better instead of just cheaper." Echo's voice filled the bay again. "Lisa Hayes, I have been studying human piloting techniques through the station's computer records. You are indeed the logical choice for this test flight." "Thanks for the vote of confidence," Lisa said. "When do we launch?" Kate checked her tablet. "All systems show green. The crew is ready. We've got a flight plan that takes us out beyond the asteroid belt, away from any Council patrol routes." Jake looked around the construction bay. Over the past 2 months, word had spread quietly through Earth's space community. Retired military officers had arrived asking for jobs. Young engineers had found excuses to visit the scrapyard. Even some of the tougher salvage crews had started asking pointed questions about what was really going on out here. "Jake, Tony," called from inside the ship. "You need to see something." Jake and Kate flew through the main airlock and into the Liberty's bridge. It was beautiful. Clean lines, efficient layout, and computer screens that showed more information than any human ship had ever carried. But Tony was pointing at something else. In the center of the bridge was a new addition. A small pedestal with 3 of the Chi glowing architect boxes built into it. The blue light pulsed gently, like a calm heartbeat. Echo wanted a direct interface with the ship, Tony explained. Says it will help with navigation and combat coordination. Hello, Jake Morrison, Echo sighed. The voice now came from the bridge speakers, clearer than ever before. I am ready to show you what architect technology can truly accomplish. Lisa took her place at the pilot's station. Her hands moved over the controls with practiced ease. All systems responding. This feels good, Jake. Really good. Take us out, Jake ordered. The Liberty moved like a dream. Jake had flown on hundreds of alien ships over the years. They all had their quirks, their rough edges, their limitations. But the Liberty was different. It responded instantly to Lisa's commands, smooth as silk and twice as fast as it had any right to be. They cleared the scrapyard and headed for open space. Behind them, the construction bay was already being prepared for the next ship. Amy Brooks had claimed a damaged hegemony destroyer, while Steve Miller was working on a Zephyrian attack craft. The fleet was growing. Jump drives coming online, Lisa announced. Echo, you ready to show us what this ship can do? Indeed, Echo replied, setting course for the Titan Nebula. Estimated travel time at standard speeds would be 6 hours. How long with our new drives? Jake asked. 43 minutes, Echo said. Jake felt his stomach drop. That's impossible. Nothing travels that fast. Nothing built by current galactic civilizations, Echo corrected. Activating quantum tunnel drives in 3.2. The stars outside the bridge windows suddenly stretched into long lines of light. Jake felt a strange sensation, like falling and flying at the same time. Then everything went back to normal. Jump complete, Lisa announced. She sounded amazed. Jake, look. At this, the main screen showed the Titan Nebula spread out before them like a rainbow painted across space. It should have taken them hours to reach this place. Instead, they had covered the distance in minutes. How is this possible? Kate asked. Architect technology does not move through space, Echo explained. It moves around space. We fold the universe like a piece of paper and step from one fold to another. Jake stared at the nebula. If one ship could do this, what could a whole fleet accomplish? Echo, how many ships can you help us build? As many as you can provide hulls for, Echo replied. But Jake Morrison, I must warn you. Each ship I help create will awaken another fragment of architect consciousness. I am not alone in the quantum realm. My brothers and sisters sleep in technology scattered across your scrapyard. More like you? Lisa asked. Similar, but different, Echo said. Each of us has our own personality, our own skills. Some are better at weapons design. Others excel at defensive systems or navigation. Together, we can create a fleet unlike anything the galaxy has seen. Jake made a decision. Then that's what we'll do. Kate, I want you to start scanning every piece of technology in the scrapyard. Look for more architect fragments. Tony, we're going to need bigger construction bays. Lisa, you're going to be training a lot of new pilots. What about the council? Kate asked. They're going to notice eventually. Jake smiled grimly. Let them notice. Rick Stone has been tracking their communication patterns. They've been planning something. Something that involves stripping our scrapyard of its most valuable components and leaving us with the real junk. When? Lisa asked. Soon, Jake replied. Rick thinks they'll make their move within the next few months, which means we need to be ready. Echo's voice took on a different tone. Jake Morrison, there is something else you should know. The enemy I mentioned, the threat from beyond the galaxy, has been detected by long-range sensors. They are still very far away, but they are coming. The bridge went quiet. Jake felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. Earth had always been on the edge of galactic civilization, barely noticed by the major powers. Now they were preparing to become something much more significant. "How long do we have?" Jake asked. "Years," Echo replied. "Perhaps decades. But the Council civilizations are not ready for this threat. They have grown soft, comfortable. When the time comes, they will fall unless someone is prepared to stand against the darkness." Jake looked around the bridge at his friends and crew. Members. These people had trusted him with their lives and their futures. Soon, he would be asking much more of them. "Then we'd better get to work," Jake said. "Echo, take us home. We have a fleet to build." As the Liberty jumped back toward Earth, Jake watched the stars stretch into lines of light again. Somewhere, out there, ancient enemies were moving through the void between galaxies. The Galactic Council was planning to strip Earth of its resources, and humanity was about to announce itself as a major power god. It was going to be an interesting year.